हॅलो. आली आली बघ आता. USD फेडच्या दोन टेस्ट. ठीक आहे, तर दोन लेवल भेटतात आपल्याला. सिनेरिओ बाईंगचा झालेला आहे. चेंज ऑफ कॅरेक्टर झालेला आहे पूर्णपणे. ठीक आहे, आता ही लेवल काय कामाची नाही, ब्रेक झालेली. ही एक लेवल आहे आपली. ॲज सपोर्ट काम करू राहिलेला आहे. एक रेजिस्टन्स तयार झालेला आहे. 65 आणि 55. 120 पिपची रेंज आहे, 130 जवळपास. या रेंजमध्ये नो ट्रेड झोन आहे आपला. ठीक है, वेट करेंगे क्योंकि अभी 15 मिनट बाद न्यूज़ है. एक कैड में भी न्यूज़ है और एक USD में भी न्यूज़ है. 40 स्पीडची कॅन्डल रिजेक्शन घेऊ राहिली. USD कॅड ओपन करून ठेवतो पर्यंत. USD कॅड न्यूज आहे. ओके, आपला एक रेजिस्टन्स आहे, आपला एक मेजर सपोर्ट आहे. ठीक आहे, नियर बाय सपोर्ट हा सपोर्टला काय सपोर्ट आहे. ठीक आहे, डे मध्ये लोला आहे, आपण उच्च लिक्विडिटी क्रॅक केलेली आहे ऑलरेडी. ठीक आहे, USDचा आवर क्लीन स्ट्रक्चर आहे, बेरीज साईडला आहे मार्केट. 1 आवर क्लीन स्ट्रक्चर आहे, बेरीज साईडला आहे. कॅरेक्टर चेंज करण्याचा प्रयत्न केला होता, परंतु ब्रेकआउट काय भेटलेला नाहीये. ठीक आहे, प्रिव्हियस डेचा लो हा 1 आवरला ब्रेक केलेला आहे. पुन्हा मार्केट इथं रिटेस्टला आलेला आहे. शेक ठीक आहे, रिजेक्शन घेतलंय प्रिव्हियस डेच्या लो पासून. सिनेरिओ असा ठेवता येईल इथे. मुवमेंट आहे, करन्सी स्ट्रेंथ मीटर काय म्हणतंय, ऍड बेरिश USD बेरिश. 21 सेकंद बाकी, 21 सेकंद. लॉंग असेल तर इथून वर असेल, दिसेल इथं राहील. टार्गेट पूर्ण क्लीन रेंज. बेरिशला तर बघू, पेंडिंग पेंडिंग. न्यूट्रल न्यूट्रल आलेला आहे ना त्याच्या मार्केटमध्ये, काहीच मुवमेंट नाहीये. नथिंग. 15 कॅरी USD डिलीट. डेटा पूर्ण न्यूट्रल आलेला आहे, पॉझिटिव्ह पण नाही निगेटिव्ह पण नाही. आता 7:30ची न्यूज 15 मिनिटं आहे न्यूजला. ही न्यूज इम्पॉर्टंट आहे. यात फेड चेअरमन काय काय सांगणार आहे. फेडरल बँकचे गव्हर्नर फेब्रुवारी मार्च. ओके, मार्केटमध्ये आज ते फेडरल बँक त्यांचे इकडचे इंटरेस्ट रेट सांगणार आहे. जास्त होतील. जर इंटरेस्ट रेट कमी झाला करन्सीसाठी चांगलं नाहीये. मोर हॉकिंस देन एक्सपेक्टेड फॉर गुड करन्सी. हॉकिंस म्हणजे कमी झालं तर. चेक करू आपण. ओके, इंटरेस्ट रेट वाढवला तर बरोबर आहे. जसं सांगितलं तसं इंटरेस्ट रेट जर वाढवला तर करन्सीसाठी चांगलं आहे. म्हणजे USDT स्ट्रॉंग असू शकतो आणि आपला गोल्ड बेरीज जाऊ शकतो. आणि जर इंटरेस्ट रेट कमी आला म्हणजे मागच्या वेळेस इंटरेस्ट रेट किती होता. इंटरेस्ट रेट इथं नाहीये, म्हणजे ही प्रेस कॉन्फरन्स असणार आहे. जर प्रिव्हियसला इंटरेस्ट रेट इथं नव्हता त्याचा अर्थ ही लाईव्ह प्रेस कॉन्फरन्स असणार आहे. द कमिटी होल्ड द क्वेश्चन अँड आन्सर सेशन. ओके, क्वेश्चन अँड आन्सर सेशन येतात ते डिस्क्राईब करतील. इथं ट्रेड भेटतो. इथे क्लोजिंग पाहिजे आपल्याला, सर्वात महत्वाचं म्हणजे वी नीड क्लोजिंग. 4 मिनिटं बाकी न्यूजला. इथं ट्रेड भेटतो. इथे लेट्स सी. ब्रेक तर करू राहिले, पण ट्रेड घेण्यात मजा नाही, कारण की 2 मिनिटं न्यूज आहे, 2.5 मिनिटांनी. त्यामुळे रिस्क नाही घेऊ वाटत आहे. रिस्क है तो रिस्क है. एक स्मॉल क्वांटिटी सोबत मला वाटतं एंट्री घ्यावा आपण. न्यूज आल्यानंतर आपण ट्रेड घेणार आहे. जर बुलिश साईडला ब्रेकआउट भेटला तर. तोपर्यंत वेट. 1.5 मिनिटं बाकी आहे अजून. तीस सेकंद बाकी न्यूजसाठी. लेट्स सी व्हॉट हॅपन. टेन सेकंद. 4, 3, 2, 1. What then? चेयरमैन एक काम करते, न्यूज लगा दे. ओके ओके. फेड चेअरमन ही नाही अभी तक. ओके, फेड का चेयरमैन ही ऑनलाइन है इधर, लाइव नहीं है, सॉरी इधर। वेट करो। दिखा दो आपको, चलो दिखा देता हूँ। ओके, चेयरमैन इज कमिंग। अब होगा ना गाना आज मौत का, किधर तभी फुटेगा। चलो देखते हैं अपन। हमारा सिनेरियो बाई साइड को है, बायस बाय है हमारा। लेट्स सी व्हाट हैपन। अब यार फ्रंट से कोई नहीं ले रहा है क्या? अभी वो आ गया इधर तो चालू भी नहीं हुआ न्यूज। से भी साइड से ले रहे हैं। ओके ठीक है। इंटरेस्ट रेट का तो फिक्स करके ही लाया होगा वो पहला आंकड़ा बता देगा, फिर बाद में उसे क्वेश्चन आस्क और वो चालू होगा।
Today, the committee welcomes Chairman Kevin Warsh for his first semi-annual monetary policy hearing since taking office. I know it's been 7 weeks, but it probably feels like a couple of years. We are really happy to have you with us and really excited about the direction of the Fed. Today is about how the Fed is serving the American people and how Chairman Warsh is working to combat years of mission creep at the Fed and restoring the Fed's credibility, especially to the general public. The decisions that the Fed makes affect everyday life in South Carolina and around our country. For example, those decisions affect the mortgage payment a couple is trying to afford, the credit card bill a single mom is trying to pay down, and the decisions a small business owner makes about whether they can afford a loan or not. Frankly, the Fed even has impact on the interest rate environment. As you know, Raymond and I spent over a year working on a housing bill that will actually help us increase housing supply, help us expedite the process of building a house through NEPA reform, and create more diversity in housing selection at the end, the removal of the chassis requirement. These are important issues that will make housing affordability incredibly easier, but it will never get to the main point of interest rates. The interest rate is something that you control that we don't control. We want you to follow the facts, however, because that is really important for the long-term durability of our economy. But in North Charleston, where I grew up, families do not talk about monetary policy, Kevin. They just don't talk in those terms. But they fully understand the principle that when prices rise faster than paychecks, it's really hard to make their ends meet. That is why affordability must be at the center of our conversation. The Federal Reserve has a mandate to pursue and promote a strong labor market through maximum employment and stable prices. Those are serious responsibilities, and I'm glad that you are the man for the job and you've taken it seriously. They require clear thinking, steady leadership, and the commitment to follow the data, no matter the political ramifications. It also requires understanding the forces shaping our economy, including AI's impact on jobs, wages, productivity, and prices. Independence is not a slogan. It is a responsibility. And the best way for the Fed to protect its independence is to stay focused on its mission. For too many years, the Federal Reserve drifted into issues outside of its core responsibilities, and America paid a price for it. Mission creep makes the Fed less accountable and undermines public trust. I am encouraged by the steps that you are taking to reform our central bank. That starts with a more disciplined approach to how the Fed communicates, moving away from overly
इस लेवल के ऊपर जाता है
predictions
तो हम
about where
बाय
interest
करेंगे,
rates might be going in the next several months.
मगर वेट करने
Is
क्या क्या
a
क्या बोलेंगे.
helpful step to make sure the Fed is able to adapt when conditions change. Families, small businesses, and markets are better served when the Fed follows the data in front of them, not a forecast that may change in an instant. Less guessing and more discipline will help the Fed stay flexible, credible, and focused. The 5 independent task forces that you set up also sends a very important signal that the Fed is willing to start from its core principles and pursue thoughtful reforms to deliver on its statutory mandate. You and I had a quick conversation before walking in here, and I wanted to note that I think that the working groups are fantastic. Frankly, I think the composition of the working groups is really important. One of the things that we talked about was the balance sheet working group. I must concede that I'm a fan of Abraham Lincoln's approach of these team of rivals. And it seems like you have Jeremy Stein, you might know Jeremy, from Harvard, as well as the former governor of the India Central Bank, Mr. Rajan. They have very nicely put competing approaches and philosophies about the balance sheet. But if you're going to be intellectually honest, you need to have a serious debate about what direction to go and, frankly, how to get there. And so I'm really excited about what you're doing there. And I look forward to hearing how that works out for you, for the Federal Reserve, and more importantly, for the American people, because unwinding a balance sheet the size that we have today is going to take a deliberate effort that will have to be paced properly, not to create instability and volatility in our market. So thank you for taking on it seriously. As AI reshapes the economy, the Fed should understand its impact on jobs, productivity, and prices, and the financial system without using technological change to expand its mandate. That same discipline should guide the Fed's approach to bank regulation. The U.S. banking system is sound and resilient, but we cannot, frankly, how to get there. And so I'm really excited about what you're doing there, and I look forward to hearing how that works out for you. Real risks. According to the July 2026 Monetary Policy Report, bank capital is near historically high levels. As the Fed finalizes Basel III Endgame and other capital rules, it should pursue better calibrated requirements that preserve resilience without unnecessarily restricting lending. When capital is stuck on the sidelines, a family in Irmo, South Carolina may find it very difficult to get a mortgage. A small business may find it hard to get a loan. A community bank may spend more time satisfying Washington than serving its own customers. That is why this committee will continue pressing for regulations that protect the system without cutting off access to credit. I want the Fed to be very successful. We need the Fed to be successful. Prices become more stable when your job is done well. Markets gain confidence, wages grow, and more families have the opportunity save, invest, buy a home, and live their version of the American dream. Welcome today. Ranking member, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome back, Mr. Warsh. So about 2 months ago, you appeared in front of this committee for your nomination hearing, and you refused to answer basic factual questions. I assume because you were afraid of contradicting President Trump. Your answers during the hearing were so troubling that this committee had a party line vote for Fed chair for the first time ever in our history. You were confirmed by the Senate in the tightest vote for a Fed chair in U.S. history. So you now face an uphill battle to show that you have the independence needed to run America's central bank and to serve American families and not just President Trump and his billionaire friends. Now, President Trump's corruption and failed economic agenda is raising costs across the board. Inflation has kept real wages from growing for the third consecutive month. That means in the Trump economy, families are falling behind with less to spend every day that goes by. High interest rates are making mortgages, auto loans, and credit cards more expensive. More and more people are falling behind on their bills. 95% of Americans believe that the U.S. is suffering an affordability crisis, while President Trump continues to call affordability a hoax, telling Americans their concerns about the cost of living are made up. Lower interest rates would provide some relief to families, but the Fed hasn't lowered interest rates and may be forced to raise rates even more, all because of one man, President Trump. Now, the president knows this. So instead of changing course, he wants to take over the Fed. Installing you as Fed chair is critical part of his plan. You reportedly told the president exactly what he wanted to hear in your Oval Office interview, and Trump confirmed it afterwards, saying, quote, "Worse thinks you have to lower interest rates." Now, for your part, you were the only member of the last Fed meeting who declined to submit economic projections that are supposed to show how the Fed's decisions under your leadership are likely to affect American consumers and American workers. People might look at that and conclude that you don't tell the truth about inflation under Trump. Trump may have you in his pocket, but he will not stop until he controls the Fed. And he just needs one more seat to do that. And that's why he has had his Department of Justice open bogus criminal investigations into both Governor Lisa Cook and former Chair Jerome Powell. And that is why he illegally tried to fire Fed Governor Cook. His own Supreme Court recently blocked the firing, at least for now, but Trump has vowed to try again to fire Governor Cook. The fight for control is a fight over interest rates, but it is also about corruption. President Trump likes to play king, and the Fed offers many appealing opportunities for the president to enrich himself while he fleeces the American people. Start with crypto. Trump's family crypto company is World Liberty Financial, the centerpiece of the crypto enterprise that let him rake in $1.4 billion in 2025 alone. Now it is currently applying for a bank charter. After that charter is granted by Trump's own bank regulator, World Liberty could seek special privileges from the Federal Reserve to juice its own profits, like a master account that would give Trump's own company direct access to the Fed's core And there's more. If he can control the Fed, Trump could threaten to revoke banks' access to Fed services if they refuse to do his bidding. He could hijack the Fed's extraordinary powers to bail out financial markets, making sure that he rewards his friends and punishes his enemies in a crisis. And you better bet that Trump will turbocharge the Wall Street deregulation that is already underway. juicing mega bank profits and CEO bonuses, knowing that American taxpayers will be on the hook once again if there's another devastating financial crash. Congress and the American people will be watching closely whether you serve the public or whether you become yet another instrument of Donald Trump's corruption. Thank you, Mr. President.
अरे बाप रे बाप, इसने पूरा लपेट लिया इसको.
Chairman Walsh, thank you for being with us. The floor is yours. 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Warren, other members of the committee, good morning. It's a privilege to join you. It's my first appearance before this panel as chairman, and I'm particularly honored to represent my superb colleagues from across the Federal Reserve System. In submitting the monetary policy report, I can't help but think of a long line of central bank chiefs who came before the Congress in keeping with the Federal Reserve Act, and I can't help but think of the best of the Fed's traditions. As a country, we just marked our 250th year. And when Americans count our blessings, we can include an economy predicated on the brilliance of our constitutional design and system of ordered liberty. An economy without equal in all it's done for human flourishing. Some forms of communication, including some that the ranking member referenced, are discretionary, but not this one, and for good reason. It's a prudent and wisely conceived obligation designed to keep the Fed responsible, accountable, and faithful to the mandate that you gave us of full employment and price stability. These obligations are of a piece with the Fed's rightful independence in the conduct of monetary policy. Today, we're at a hinge point in history, and it's up to each of us, myself included, to meet this moment. The Fed's number one objective is to get monetary policy right. That's our clear and constant aim, the star by which we steer by. And if we get policy right, and we will, the inflation surge of the last 5 years will be a thing of the past. Just a month ago, I chaired my very first FOMC meeting. My colleagues and I recognize that high inflation has been an undue burden on American households and businesses. And while monthly fluctuations are inevitable, especially in an unsettled world, underlying inflation over longer-term horizons is determined largely by monetary policy. As I've said before and will say today, inflation is a choice. The members of our committee have no tolerance for persistently elevated inflation, and we share a resolute commitment to restore price stability.
पीछे वाला हाउस ऑफ
That was
खान
our
में
focus when we met a month
उसका नहीं
ago,
रहता क्या
in which we decided to hold
जैसा
the target
वही दिख
range
रहा है
in the federal
Same
funds
here, right?
rate at 3.5 to 3.75%. Naturally, our work at the Fed demands a proper reading of economic conditions. As you might have seen in our report, economic activity is expanding at a solid pace, showing resilience in the face of recent developments. Household consumption growth is moderate, and manufacturing output has moved up steadily this year. The housing sector, however, strikes a different note. It gives a different picture and continues to lag. I want to highlight the most striking feature of our economy right now, and it's business investment. It is a surge in capital expenditures. Compare that to what we've seen for a long period of financial engineering. This is a better situation. The rapid pace of CapEx, which appears to be accelerating, reflects in large part the construction of infrastructure, including in and around AI and the immense demand for AI-related equipment and software. Investment in equipment overall increased about 8% for the year in the first quarter. Within that category, high-tech spending logged an especially impressive growth rate of about 25%. We don't yet know the extent to which the economy will benefit from this build-out. Yet it seems inevitable, at least to me, that what is now called AI investment will soon just be called investment. Even so, new opportunities for the economy introduce new challenges for policymakers. We at the Fed are monitoring the implications for the inflation and for the labor market. That brings me to the supply side of the economy, a subject worthy of equal attention, where productivity growth has been strong. And I'll note that this productivity growth predates gains from AI adoption. America's labor force appears to be broadly stable. Job creation has kept pace with the workforce. The unemployment rate low and has changed little, quite frankly, over the last year. We're seeing relatively few layoffs and only slight variance in the rate of job vacancies. Solid growth in nominal wages too.
पॉजिटिव तो बोल रहा
I'm
है
heartened by the
अमेरिका
welcome I've received and by the encouragement of my colleagues. We have a duty to point the institution forward, to take a fresh look at current practices, to make sure we're serving our objectives, and we're going about it systematically. As the chairman referenced, I appointed a task force in each of 5 areas that are central to the conduct of monetary policy. I'll just reference them and close. First, Fed communications. Second, our balance sheet policy. Third, our use of existing data. Fourth, productivity and jobs. And finally, the Fed's inflation framework. Our purpose here is to make better decisions in the conduct of monetary policy and put these years of high inflation behind us. We are the Federal Reserve, Mr. Chairman, and as determined as ever to fulfill our mission. Thank you, and I welcome your questions.
Thank you, Chairman. Each member will have 5 minutes to ask questions and get answers, and I'll start that off. And I'll start off with your working groups. I think credibility equals transparency. And the names that I've seen on your working groups, from Doug McMillion, former CEO of Walmart, to Mark Andreessen on productivity and AI, tells me that you're serious about getting real world experience and expertise involved in making decisions at the Fed. I want to give you just a minute of my time to walk us through perhaps 1 or 2 pieces of that, as we talked about the importance of having
कुछ नहीं चलो
contrast
बंद करता
on
इसको
the committee, on the working groups. Really important from my perspective. I think it lends itself to having more confidence in the Federal Reserve. I want to give you a minute to talk about one part of it, and then I want to move quickly to AI.
ठीक है कट कर देते आज कुछ नहीं ट्रेड नहीं वगैरह साइडवेज है अभी ये जोन भी ठीक है गाइस थैंक यू